History's most destructive leaders were not the ones people feared. They were the ones people loved. You have been conditioned to view charisma as a benevolent gift, a warm, magnetic trait that naturally draws people together, inspires positive change, and elevates organizations to historical heights. This is a dangerous, highly calculated myth designed to keep you blind to the entry vectors of absolute psychological capture. The most lethal leaders in global politics, corporate warfare, and spiritual movements do not gain control by weaponizing force. They do it by weaponizing devotion, by altering the neurological chemistry of their targets until compliance is no longer a conscious decision, but a biological reflex. In the theater of authority, raw intimidation has a shelf life. Force creates friction, friction creates resistance, and resistance eventually explodes into rebellion. The true rulers of human behavior understand that the absolute optimization of control is invisible. They do not restrict your choices, they colonize your affection. Charisma is not an innocent personality trait. It is a highly engineered skill set deployed to short-circuit your critical evaluation, dissolve your personal identity, and fuse your ego with the leader's strategic agenda. When you fall under the influence of a genuinely charismatic operator, you do not feel manipulated. You feel chosen. You feel enlightened. You feel powerful, completely unaware that your intellect has been quietly taken offline. If you are currently operating in proximity to a leader whom you find universally inspiring, whose flaws you naturally excuse, and whose vision you defend with emotional intensity, you are not experiencing alignment. You are undergoing chemical capture. And the question is whether you have the forensic awareness to step outside the distortion field, or whether your identity is already being dissolved into the collective herd. Let us strip away the romantic illusions, and map the exact neuroscience of the charismatic predator. To understand how a leader can make a population coordinate against its own survival interests, one must bypass the soft vocabulary of human resource management and analyze the direct clinical reality of the human nervous system. Charisma is not a spiritual energy. It is a measurable neurological contagion. When an individual comes into contact with a highly calibrated charismatic operator, the brain's neocortex, the seat of rational analysis, fact-checking, and risk assessment, experiences a profound drop in metabolic activity. The leader's presence does not stimulate your logic, it bypasses it entirely to interact with the evolutionary basement of your brain. The mechanism relies on the immediate, automated release of oxytocin and dopamine within the listener's neural pathways. Oxytocin is the biological chemical of trust and social bonding. It is the hormone that makes an infant trust its mother, or a member of a prehistoric tribe feel safe within the group. A master of dark charisma understands exactly how to trigger this neurochemical flood. They utilize a specific vocal frequency, a highly managed stillness of posture, and a prolonged, unblinking eye contact that your brain instinctively interprets as absolute safety, genetic superiority, and supreme protection. When your system is flooded with oxytocin, your internal threat detection radar goes blind. Your brain stops scanning the leader for signs of deception, inconsistency, or hidden agendas. It lowers its defenses because the chemical signal tells it that this person is the safety zone. Simultaneously, the leader introduces high-arousal dopamine spikes into the environment through the strategic staging of grand visions, existential enemies, and collective milestones. This combination creates a powerful state of neurochemical dependency. The follower's brain begins to associate proximity to the charismatic figure with the relief of structural anxiety and the consumption of pure validation. You stop evaluating their data because the logical cost of questioning the source would mean turning off the chemical supply. You have become a neurochemical dependent, trading your cognitive sovereignty for the intoxicating comfort of a manufactured security blanket. Charisma is frequently spoken of as an inherent genetic trait, something you are either born with or destined to lack. This is a convenient deception maintained by elite operators to prevent the masses from reverse engineering the script. Charisma is not an identity, it is an active discipline of sensory engineering. The first component in the engineering protocol is the absolute management of spatial occupation and physical stillness. A passive or anxious individual constantly transmits micromovements. They shift their weight, fidget with their hands, nod excessively to seek approval, and alter their vocal pitch at the end of sentences. A charismatic predator operates with a terrifying economy of motion. When they enter a room, they move with a heavy, unhurried deliberation that signals absolute internal security. They do not rush their phrases. They understand that scarcity creates value, and that rule applies directly to their words. They use strategic pauses to force the room to adapt to their internal pacing. The second component is the systematic calibration of the vocal delivery. Charismatic leaders utilize a downward vocal inflection at the end of sentences, which the human subconscious processes as an absolute declaration of fact. They completely eliminate filler words and hesitation markers, replacing them with structured silence. This silence is not empty, it is a psychological void that forces the listener's brain to rush forward and fill the space with compliance. The third and most lethal component is the deployment of strategic vulnerability combined with immediate mirroring. A master manipulator does not present themselves as an unapproachable god. That creates emotional distance and invites intellectual scrutiny. Instead, they selectively share a highly curated personal failure, a moment of past insignificance, or a hidden wound. This tactical display of humanity serves a precise strategic function. It disarms the target's natural defenses through the psychological law of reciprocity. When an authority figure appears to lower their guard with you, your ego feels intensely validated. Your brain registers that you have been admitted into an elite, inner circle. You immediately mirror their vulnerability by opening your own psychological map, revealing your insecurities, your financial anxieties, and your desperate need for direction. The charismatic operator logs this data without emotional attachment, transforming your voluntary confessions into the exact tactical levers they will use to direct your behavior for the next decade. Do not look for this phenomenon in abstract textbooks. The history of global power is a continuous loop of charismatic autopsies where the preservation of empires required the absolute psychological capture of the collective. Consider the corporate rise and catastrophic trajectory of Enron under the leadership of Jeffrey Skilling. Skilling did not control the financial sector through standard accounting excellence or superior market data. He built an institutional empire by projecting an aura of absolute, intimidating intellectual charisma. He presented himself as a corporate messiah who had decrypted the future of energy trading. He spoke with a clinical, unyielding vocal certainty that mesmerized Wall Street analysts, institutional investors, and thousands of brilliant young employees. When independent minds attempted to analyze Enron's financial statements and found a chaotic vacuum of actual revenue, Skilling did not engage in transparency. He used his charisma as an offensive weapon. He publicly humiliated analysts who questioned his models, labeling them as too slow, unable to grasp the modern paradigm, or intellectually deficient. The employees inside the organization became so captivated by his narrative of elite superiority that they suspended their personal ethical frameworks. They chose to falsify documents, manufacture artificial power blackouts, and ruin thousands of lives, not out of a primitive desire to commit fraud, but because their identities had become entirely fused with Skilling's vision of intellectual dominance. They would rather destroy the system than admit that the man they worshipped was a financial mirage. Look at the spiritual and psychological playground of the tech sector. Look at the documented cultural mechanics of the Nexium organization under Keith Raniere. Raniere did not recruit elite corporate executives, wealthy heiresses, and Hollywood actors by using force. He did it through the hyper-calibrated execution of tactical empathy and intellectual charisma. He presented himself as the world's most intelligent, selfless philosopher, a man who had built a scientific matrix to unlock human potential. He used intensive, hours-long personal profiling sessions to map the precise psychological vulnerabilities of his targets, their deep fears of mediocrity, their hidden traumas, and their desire for elite inclusion. Once these anchors were set, he systematically shifted his role from a supportive mentor to an absolute spiritual ruler. The followers voluntarily subjected themselves to financial extortion, physical branding, and complete isolation from their families, because their brains had been systematically trained to process Ranieri's approval as the single source of their psychological validation. The charisma was so complete that even after his federal arrest, multiple subjects remained locked in the trap, psychologically incapable of reclaiming the autonomy they had willingly surrendered to a master strategist. Once a charismatic operator has established an automated neurochemical bond with a collective, the organization achieves a state of self-sustaining containment. At this phase, the leader no longer needs to actively suppress dissenting evidence or defend their strategy against logic. The followers will handle the censorship themselves. When an individual's identity becomes partially or fully fused with the identity of a charismatic leader, any piece of contradictory data, a documented financial failure, an explicit ethical breach, or a visible operational error, is no longer processed as an intellectual problem. It is processed as an existential threat. To acknowledge that the leader is flawed, corrupt, or incompetent requires the follower to accept a devastating psychological conclusion. I have wasted my labor, I have surrendered my autonomy, and my judgment is fundamentally compromised. The human ego is biologically incapable of integrating that degree of self-rejection without intense pain. To avoid this cognitive destruction, the brain activates its motivated reasoning protocols. It does not analyze the case against the leader, it attacks the source of the data. If a journalist exposes a corporate fraud, the followers label the report as a coordinated hit piece funded by jealous competitors. If an internal whistleblower raises a safety concern, the group recategorizes the individual as a toxic element, a low-energy parasite, or a traitor who lacks the vision to understand the master plan. The charismatic leader can walk through fields of explicit disaster, leaving a trail of ruined projects, depleted capital, and burned-out teams, and the devoted collective will still follow them into the next crisis. They will reframe the leader's failures as strategic pivots, their cruelty as purposeful Darwinism, and their absolute arrogance as unyielding conviction. The leader becomes completely insulated from the reality of the market, wrapped in a protective cocoon woven entirely from the psychological needs of their followers. They possess the ultimate luxury of power, the capacity to make catastrophic choices without ever having to face the internal or external accountability of their own actions, because their herd will gladly sacrifice themselves to keep the illusion alive. To operate successfully within competitive professional environments without becoming the raw material extracted by a charismatic predator, you must build a cold, non-negotiable cognitive defense architecture. You must learn to appreciate the strategic value of charisma while remaining entirely immune to its chemical influence. The first directive in the protective protocol is the absolute decoupling of delivery from data. When an authoritative leader presents a vision, an allocation plan, or an operational pivot, you must systematically perform a text-only translation of their communication. Strip away the dramatic pauses, the intense eye contact, the premium cinematic vocabulary, and the emotional appeals to legacy or mission. Reduce the presentation entirely to cold, dry bullet points on a plain white ledger. Analyze the numbers, the dependencies, the risk parameters, and the historical precedents as if they were written by an anonymous, entry-level data analyst. If the logic does not hold up on a flat sheet of paper, it does not hold up in reality, no matter how beautiful the voice sounds when delivering it. The second directive is the strict maintenance of your external domain competence. A charismatic operator loves a vacuum. They target individuals who feel insecure about their trajectory, their status, or their understanding of the industry. By continuously building your personal value, your independent capital reserves, and your high-leverage skills, you ensure that you never depend on the leader's personal validation for your survival. You treat them not as an ideological father figure or a messiah, but as a temporary transactional partner. You exchange your elite output for their capital and distribution networks, nothing more. The moment you detect the entry signals of the charismatic field, the group-wide pressure to perform unconditional agreement, the systematic silencing of analytical dissent, or the requirement to view a corporate business as a transcendent family, you must quietly set your exit anchors. Enjoy the temporary momentum of their wave, extract the strategic intelligence they possess, and protect your capital, but never let them look into your map. Maintain your cold composure, anchor your reality to objective metrics, and remember that the throne is always a lonely, calculating position, and those who worship the seat are the first to be crushed when the king decides to clear the room. The leader you admire most, when did you last seriously examine the case against them? And why has that examination been so easy to avoid?